Well, hello there. Welcome back to the FloGrappling studio. It is myself, Hywel Teague, Reed Connell, and Will Safford for another episode of A Fistful of Collars. Gentlemen, it's been a little while. Will, where you been?
I've been out. I had knee surgery last week. Yeah.
Dang.
Dealing with the torn meniscus. I tore it in July of 2017.
And was it a jiu-jitsu injury?
Of course.
Of course it was,
course.
yeah.
Yep. Swept.
Not tap into a heel hook?
No. It's just a sweep. But, yeah, finally decided to go into the knife and excited to get back on the mats.
Well, you're looking good after the surgery. You're up and about. That's the main thing, right?
I'm down to one crutch.
Oh,
one crutch.
Progress.
So, yeah.
Progress. Is this the most serious jiu-jitsu injury you ever had?
It is, and I've been training for 8 years, and it was just a little meniscus. They just went in, clipped out the meniscus.
That's pretty good.
Nothing, 4-week recovery. So, yeah, I mean, knock on wood. This is what you want if you're gonna have a jiu-jitsu injury.
So you don't have a meniscus anymore, or?
I don't have a piece of my meniscus.
Okay, gotcha.
I have most of it. They just cut out a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can 60% meniscus, whatever.
Yeah,
Big deal.
yeah, you
Yeah,
don't
that's
need a
enough.
meniscus.
Nah, you can fight with one leg.
Yeah.
How about you, Reed? You ever had any serious jiu-jitsu injuries?
I've fortunately, never had any real bad jiu-jitsu injuries. I've had, staph, and I've had ringworm, and I've had those skin infections and stuff like that. But
that's like a rite of passage, though. That's not really an injury, is it?
Yeah. But the staph was probably just like the most unfun thing I've experienced at jiu-jitsu.
Makes you feel scuzzy. And,
Well, actually, it was very painful too.
Ooh, really?
My knee swelled up like 3 times the size, and I had to go get it drained, and that was like no fun. So that was the only thing that's ever happened to me. But like the only like reoccurring injury that I have in jiu-jitsu is my toe. It's just like my toe.
You get the turf toe?
I don't know exactly what it is, but like that's the only thing
That's such like a wuss injury too.
I know it is.
But I know how it is. It really hurts.
Yeah.
It
Just like,
sucks. It's like just one thing makes such a huge difference.
yeah,
right?
and that's the only thing that nags at me sometimes is like my toe. It just like murders me sometimes. But luckily, I've been pretty pretty fine.
How about you, Hal?
Well, I've never had surgery from a jiu-jitsu injury. I can say that at least. But yeah, I've broken various toes. I've broken my hand. I dislocated my thumb. Herniated discs in my neck.
Jeez.
Yeah, but I've probably torn stuff, but I've never really destroyed a knee or an elbow or something. Actually, I can't straighten my right arm anymore. That happened about 2 years ago, and I still can't straighten it. And I was drilling arm bars. Didn't pop or anything. I got an MRI, and they're like, yeah, there's something wrong with it, and we just don't know, so we can't fix it. So you just
gotta go with
It's
it.
just jiu-jitsu.
Seriously, though, tell me a black belt whose arms both go straight. It just doesn't happen.
Battle wounds, man. If you're on the mats, I mean, we're out there trying to hurt each other, right? Like that's the goal to attack a joint or the neck, and you're gonna get hurt.
Although, we can talk about jiu-jitsu injuries, but at the same time, I can honestly say I've never even had a cauliflower ear. So there's that, right?
Yeah, some guys get it and some guys don't. It's weird. Yeah, I have like a little bit, but I've been grappling for a long time too, and I've just never really gotten it.
You look pretty good. I
don't have it either.
Messed up ears either.
I think it's due to like the passing. I think if you're like a pressure passer and you're always got your head down on the guy, and I'm more of an outside like leg drag type
Pass it
passer,
at distance.
Toriando type guy.
Like I think I may have mentioned this before, but I spent a little period there experimenting with Murillo Santana's style of pressure passing, which is really head down, hips up, driving forward, tripoding, and I mean it's an amazing style, but like I was getting cauliflower head. Like all my forehead from like here to here was just raw all the time because I was just constantly like driving it into people's gi.
Do you know one of my worst fears? Cauliflower nose. Almost every time I roll, I have like a scrape on my nose, and I'm afraid that one day it's just gonna be a.
Actually, on the inside of my nose right here, I have like a cauliflower nose. It's like weird. It's like a big bubble. It's like a hard bubble on the inside of like my nose that just popped up.
I don't think you can do anything for that,
Yeah.
You do get a red nose when you train, though.
I do.
You do. Your nose glows red. I don't know what it is. Every time we train, right?
Put that head down, I grind, man.
Yeah. But like Shanji said as well about the whole cauliflower ear thing, right? I may have mentioned this once or twice before, but like Shanji says, you don't get cauliflower ear when you're on top and in mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
So,
He doesn't have it.
My elbows are I don't know. I guess they're like a little Gumby. They're a little weird. Like I have had my arm popped a couple times, but it never does anything or anything like that. So I don't know if my elbow joints are weird, but they always seem to recover like pretty quick.
It's tough, right? It's we were going to talk about this a little bit later, but hey, why not talk about it right now? But you know, the whole injuries thing is like, for us as hobbyists, as practitioners, it sucks to be injured, right? It sucks to be out and off the mat. But can you imagine what it would be like if you were actually a pro athlete? Like what those guys have to do? Because a lot of them just keep training, you know? It's like, something's wrong, just suck it up, buttercup, and just keep going, right? They just tape it up to hell and they just do whatever they can. They drill around it or whatever it might be. But imagine if your livelihood is based on traveling, competing, and, you know, being active and stuff, and something serious does come along and takes you out for, let's say, a couple of months. That's got to sting, right? I wonder how you deal with that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's terrible. Yeah, luckily I've never been off the mats for like an extended period of time, but I can imagine it'd be a pretty depressing thing, that, you know, like the one thing that you love to do, right? The one thing that you get paid to do, one thing that's your job, and you can't do it like at all. You know, if you know, like what happened to you, or your knees or something like that, you know, that's one that usually puts people out for a long time. And yeah, I don't know how these guys deal with it, right? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of them don't have health insurance.
That's the other thing. That is the other thing, yeah.
And so, like, they kind of, the only real recourse that they have is to just suck it up and hope that it in time heals. So that's
I've always said, you know, the true champion is the one who can rise from defeat. When they're down, they can come back. And, you know, I've trained with a lot of guys, and I've known guys who have had to take a year off, you know, right when they're about to maybe get their black belt or something like that. They're fresh black belts, and, you know, they were excited to get on the scene, and then they got like a debilitating injury. It's those times when you have to be super mentally tough and resilient and resolve to come back and do whatever you can. You know, there's a bunch of different things that you can do off the mat, you know, mental training, or even just, you know, if your upper body, working out your legs, if your lower body, working out upper body, whatever it is.
Like a Mike Carbolito kind of comes to mind to me, a guy who was like killing it at brown belt, and then I'm not sure what happened to him.
He had a knee injury too.
Knee injury?
I think it was his meniscus and ACL as well.
Gotcha.
Speaking of knee injuries, possibly one of the worst that I've heard of in jiu-jitsu, at least, pretty much close to a career ender, actually, was Alexander Trans. Now, you'll remember that when we went to King of Mats, Abu Dhabi, earlier this year, and he won the heavyweight, and he basically, you know, he broke down in tears immediately after winning and stuff, and he was very emotional. And then, you know, I went to speak to him backstage just after, and he basically said, dude, he said, you have no idea, like the last 2 years, I've been fighting with one leg. It's like, I had a surgery, it didn't fix it. I had to go back. I had another surgery, they made it worse. I had to get another one. Ugh. And now after he won that, he immediately had to take time off to get it fixed, because he was basically, his knee's hanging on by like a thread. You know, his lower leg is basically just dangling out. And you know, he went and he beat some of the best in the world at that tournament, right? He won the King of Mats, which was a huge deal. And but of course, then his position, that winnings then goes straight into paying for the period that he's no longer able to travel, train, teach seminars, make money. You know, it's tough, right?
Jiu-jitsu is super tough because the pay is definitely getting better in jiu-jitsu, but we're not at the level of, let's say, like pro football, where you have a team of doctors, massage therapists, chiropractors, this whole team that's trying to get you better. And, you know, you have to do that on your own. You know, who knows, maybe one day. But I was actually talking to Keenan and Mike Carbolito last time I was out at Atos, and, you know, Carbolito still is having issues with his knee, and Keenan said to him, why aren't you doing everything you can possibly do to get your knee better? Go to whoever you need to go to, you know? And if you're relying on a paycheck coming from jiu-jitsu, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no argument there, is there? And another sort of flip side to that as well is, if you are injured, then you should probably stop doing what you've been doing, right, for a while, so that you know, you can work around it at the very least.
Who wants to stop doing what you're doing?
But I am thinking of just one example that springs to mind from way back in the day was Gordo. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but Gordo created the half guard, right? Like right? But, you know, he was the innovator, the guy who established the half guard as an attacking position in jiu-jitsu in the mid-80s. Why? Because he injured his knee, and he couldn't play guard. He couldn't play open guard, couldn't play the traditional close guard, high guard and stuff. And he was like, well, I want to keep training, so I'm just going to roll with one leg. And that's exactly what he did. He started hooking guys with the bottom leg instead and developed a whole series of attacks, and it became a fundamental position of jiu-jitsu, right?
Innovation through injury.
There you go. And I'm sure it's not the first time that that's happened, but you know, it was a way of working around a barrier, an obstacle, staying on the mats and actually having an amazing result. You know, that's
no. I think injuries can be beneficial in a lot of ways. You know, if you're going a million miles an hour, a lot of times injuries are the way to check you. You know, you got to slow down. You got to. I mean, that's kind of the mentality. It's an old school mentality. Just go and go and go. But you know, if you do that, obviously you might get injured. Same thing for me. Like I used to like to knee slice, you know, knee cut, but I haven't been able to do that with the knee, so I'm gonna have to.
But that's cool because then you get to develop some other areas of your passing game,
Precisely.
Right? Yeah. I hear you there. I mean, like actually, same kind of thing did happen to me a few years ago. I mentioned I had a jacked neck, and that's never going to go away. It's just one of those things that when you mess your neck up, you got a messed up neck forever. Yeah. It's like doesn't really heal. And I was a purple belt at the time, and I had to throw out a huge chunk of my game from top and bottom just because my neck was so bad. Like high close guard getting stacked, out. Passing, using my head to like spike the guy, out. And I was like, holy shit, I feel like I'm going back to white belt again. You just took my game, you know? And I had to completely redevelop my game, and it took a while, and it was miserable, right? But I did, and now I managed to add a bunch of tools to my.
You're better for it.
Work
much
around
better.
it.
Yeah, much better.
Have you seen that clip of Tito Ortiz recently, where he's like going through all his surgeries and stuff, and he's like talking about the same thing. He's like, my meniscus is gone, my ACL is gone, my T7, my T5, my T4 been fused, and he's like, this shoulder's gone, this shoulder, you know, and he's like going through all his injuries. It's like, dang, dude.
That is
rough, a price to pay.
It is rough.
Somewhere in there. Do you remember another big injury I remember that comes to mind is Yago de Souza. But did he like break his collarbone at Pans 2016?
2017, 2016. I think it was 2017. I'm like, yeah, you're putting me on the spot there, but you're correct.
One of those,
that
was a brutal injury.
Took him out for like close to a year, I think, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a brutal one. That happened in competition, right? And so that was...
Which is interesting because even jiu-jitsu being as violent as it is, you know, and it is violent, it's the gentle art, but it is also a fight. So
that's just we tell people it's called the gentle art to get them in the door.
Yeah. And then you find out later. But we don't see that many serious injuries in competition, right? Sure. Most of the big injuries happen in the training room.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that moment when you slip on a pool of water.
Leandro, right? Yeah, that Leandro comes to mind as well also.
There were a handful of them that you can think of, like Yago breaking his collarbone, like Leandro dislocating his shoulder. Yeah. But that's like, come on, throw some more at me. You have to start racking your brain.
Tommy Langaker's arm fully extended with Dante Leon and hands.
He was fine.
He broke his arm.
Dude, he was arm wrestling somebody the next day. That's Viking power right there.
But you got to think, like, how many fights have they been in and they haven't, or how many competitions have they been in and they didn't get hurt? It completely outweighs the amount of injuries that do occur on that.
And a lot of injuries are wear and tear as well, right? The accumulation over time, you know.
100%.
Yeah. I remember we have seen a few things like there's the argument, isn't there, about the dangerous takedowns, like the flying leg scissors.
Yeah.
About whether it's really that dangerous or not compared to jumping close guard. We saw that Elizabeth Clay, remember? She landed on a girl's leg hands last year or earlier this year and basically hyperextended the knee. That's pretty catastrophic as well, you know?
Yeah, that's a really extreme example. That was a bad one for sure.
But it's rare. I mean, I'm still struggling to think of serious injuries that I've seen in the last three and a half years, you know, in competition. I have to really rack my brain to think about
I guess a lot of guys probably don't like to publicize it too much either, that they got hurt from this or hurt from that, right? So sometimes, you know, we do see guys all the time pulling out for injury and stuff, or we just saw Edwin. That's another one that comes to mind.
Yeah, Edwin. Well, we should mention that because one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about the injuries in jiu-jitsu this week is because Edwin Najmi and Dante Leon unfortunately had to pull out of the upcoming event Kasai Pro 4. Edwin, of course, was scheduled to have a super fight with Renato Canuto, and Dante Leon was going to go up against the welterweight third place finisher from the last Kasai Pro, Mateus Lutz. Now, those were two really, really good super fights right there. And it was disappointing that those guys had to pull out. But we actually got some pretty good alternatives or replacements, shall we say, right?
Absolutely. PJ Barch, you know, slotted in there for
Butter
Dante,
Panther.
you know, the Butter Panther, you know, and I think he's a guy who really jumped on our radar at the last Kasai, and he's looked great. So I think him versus Mateus, they didn't fight at the
no, they were in different groups.
They were in different groups at the last Kasai, so they didn't get to match up. But I think that's a great matchup. Both guys are pit bulls out there. Both guys go to fight, so that's a great matchup.
No, that's going to be super exciting. I think we're going to see a lot of wrestling on that, but because I think Mateus Luz prefers to be on top, but he actually has a pretty good guard.
He does.
You know, he's
really
good at coming up on like a single leg.
PJ's got some legit wrestling though, man. I mean, we saw him in that last match against Renato, right?
Yes.
And there were some crazy moments in that match.
Yeah, no, I'm high on PJ Barch, man. Just because of that.
Subversive too.
Oh yeah.
That other one.
You think of a 10th Planet guy, most of the time you think of a guard player, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Rubber guard, and he's kind of mixing the whole thing together. So
he's got wrestling, he's got submissions, he's got a bit of everything. It's great. And then of
10th
course,
Planet wrestler. I'm still trying to figure it out. But.
Yeah, right. It does not compute. And then of course the replacement for Edwin Najmi, Wagner Hocha makes his return to Kasai Pro, and he's going to be basically rematching Renato. That was a rematch. That was the final of the welterweight tournament.
And some people thought that decision was a little controversial.
Wow, that was a 6-minute match. Now this time I believe the super fights they're actually they're longer, right?
Yeah,
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm not sure. I'll have to double check.
Sometimes they do a
this
5-minute overtime
and stuff. So hopefully we'll get a definitive answer one way or the other.
Yeah, I love this match. You know, definitely. If you go back and watch that match, it looked like maybe Wagner thought he was up and Canuto thought he was up, so it kind of led to a stalemate late in the match. Kind of a little lackluster, but this is Wagner obviously thought he kind of won, and even Renato wasn't super excited about the result. So I love this that Edwin's out and they turn right back to Wagner to kind of make things right, and I think it's the perfect matchup.
Wagner's coming off a hot win. Wagner's been super hot lately. The guy is very active. He just had a great victory over Tanquinho, right? Tanquinho Mendes.
To become fight to win champ.
Double champ.
Double two-weight champ, yeah.
He didn't get the submission, but he had his back. He had him in a really bad spot.
We saw the muffler.
He was doing the muffler on him, man.
We saw that horrific position that he likes to use. I mean, it's
coming back now. He's bringing it back.
Yeah.
I feel like Barrett was also doing it a little bit last
against Christian Woodmansee. Yeah.
It's trending right now.
Yeah. Well, people, I feel like it was a big thing maybe like kind of last generation, and then people started kind of getting away from it, calling it dirty. But now it's coming back, so everybody's like, okay, it's cool to do this again. It's all right again.
You know what I'm curious about is who we're going to see in Renato Canuto, because when his first match in Kasai 3, he came out, he was doing backflips, right? He was fresh. He was like just putting on a show. But when he got to the finals match, he was more reserved. He was more conservative with how he was playing against, which is smart.
Pretty deep into a stacked division, 5 matches later or something, So, you have to think 100% fresh, motivated. What will Renato bring to the table in this match?
And I think he needs to prove, oh man, I can beat this guy. Everyone kind of questioned my win last time. I think he's going to go out there and try to.
But at the same time, Wagner is obviously going to want to prove to everybody he's going to be looking for a definitive finish as well, because Wagner's the kind of guy that he wants to finish by submission, right? He's just that kind of
dominate.
Yeah, he really wants to dominate. But leaving it in the judge's hands, obviously he's never going to be happy. He wins or loses that way, and. We've seen so many of his nasty tricks, right? Like the wrist lock that he hit against Marcin Held, and the muffler and stuff. It's just so much that he's doing. Is he going to bring something new? Is he going to debut some new horrific thing at Kasai?
I don't know. I mean, and he heel hooked Masahiro Iwasaki. So he's got the heel hooks too. And I know that Renato Canuto, I mean, he did have that match with Gary and Eddie Cummings, two notorious heel hookers, and he was able to avoid him there. But Wagner's dangerous, man. He's got everything.
Man, I don't remember the last time. Actually, no. I think the last time we saw Wagner submitted was like an EBI a few years back. I think Gary caught him, but he doesn't get caught very often. That guy. He's
how old is he?
Wagner is about 35, 36, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a veteran. Definitely.
Canuto's what, like 23?
If that.
Around there.
Yeah,
like
22.
23.
Yeah.
Insane, right? Yeah, Wagner's 36, and I'm just scrolling through.
Yeah, he had that awesome combat jiu-jitsu match too, right? That was in the cage.
Oh, he was slapping the guy's stomach.
Oh, that was a brutal one. They are really, really looking for people to match up against Wagner for combat jiu-jitsu.
I wouldn't want to fight him.
No way.
He's only lost like once by submission, going way back to in the last 6 years. He's lost once by submission.
That's a good record.
Yeah.
And he's super. He competes a lot.
He's very active. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Kasai Pro 4 coming up November 10th. We're all going to be there. We're going to that one. You guys had the pleasure of attending the last couple of events. It's my first time. I'm super stoked. We had Rich Byrne in the studio here just 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Hollis crazy last week.
Last week, Hollis, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, just talking to those guys as well, and you know, kind of seeing the passion that they have for jiu-jitsu and for putting on grappling events, inspired me to go and book the plane ticket to go to New York.
It's a phenomenal event. Now it's in this big theater in New York City. I mean, it really is like a show. Yeah. You know, they just, and the cool thing is that the mat is not on the stage. It's right in the middle of the theater on the ground where like the crowd would normally be in like a regular show. So it's right in the center. You've got seats all around it. The production is phenomenal. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm excited.
It's a perfect way you put it. Those guys are so passionate about jiu-jitsu. Hollis and Rich and all those guys over there want to make the show bigger and better every time. And even the athletes, I think, are you know, super excited about the platform that they have, and so it just makes for a great show.
Got a great 8-man 145-pound tournament. John Calistine, Gio Martinez, Gianni Grippo, Ashley Williams, Bruno Frazzato,
like
Tanquinho, Ethan Krellenston, and Paolo Miao. That is literally, that's like an ADCC division right there.
Yeah, that's a straight ADCC division.
And then you mentioned it, Will, about the super fights. You got Gordon Ryan versus Mateus Diniz. And, of course, we mentioned it already, Wagner versus Hinato, and PJ Barch versus Mateus Lutz. Very exciting. Looking forward to that. So that's looking ahead. We got a couple of other events coming up on the schedule, but let's just look back for a moment. Let's wind it back a little bit. Very notable. Last weekend, huge news in the jiu-jitsu community. The return of the one and only Rodolfo Vieira. Did you guys watch it?
Oh, of course. Yeah, that guy is so awesome, man. It's just so crazy to see. He's been out since really 2014 was the last time he fought in the gi, I believe.
Yeah, and the last grappling match he had was when he won ADCC in 2015. So he's been focused on MMA since then.
4 years off the scene, and comes back. He submitted Kid Dale in less than 5 minutes. Goes to the final against Ali and just has that was a great match.
Like, make clear, 2018 world champion Muhammad Ali.
That's right.
Guy's on a tear.
Yeah,
World Series of Grappling champion Muhammad Ali.
Adolfo puts the gi on after 4 years away and comes back and beats the current world champion. That's incredible.
One thing I love about Rodolfo is that he's so well-rounded. You know, we know him for his pressure passing, his top game, right? But he was standing with Ali. Ali is really good on his feet. He's a huge guy. He's athletic as heck. And he was willing to stand with him. I think he took him down at one point. He was in on a couple of singles. Ali was able to kind of like Uchimata him to the ground. And then he was like, you know what? I'm just going to play guard from here.
Dude, his X-guard looks so good.
So good,
right?
Man.
Rodolfo's bottom game, I mean, you never really got to see it that much, I guess, because he just loved to crush and destroy people, right? But against a guy who is bigger than him in Muhammad, man, that was just such great X-guard. Like,
it was beautiful, man. He had him off balance. He was up on that single. It came up. I think he swept him once. That's how he actually was able to, in the first 5-minute match, kind of get to his back, and he almost choked him, actually, in that first 5.
And he had his arm locked out in an armbar as well.
Spins over, phenomenal arm. Like, he has not, like, lost a beat, and he's been training in MMA for the last couple of years. It was just... want him back, man.
Yeah, for real. It's a big story. I can just only hope that he makes a habit out of it and competes more in the gi, because we'd love to see him out there. For
Absolutely. Sure. That was on the Black Belt CBD challenge, which took place in Las Vegas. Also on the card, where there was a 4-man women's bracket, so 4 women's bracket as well. And Ana Carolina Vieira, Rodolfo's sister, won that one. That's pretty cool, right?
It was a big night for the Vieira.
Yeah, that's great. She beat Luisa Montero in the final in a very close match, but that's really cool. Brother and sister both winning divisions in the same day. That's the first time that they've actually competed together in the same event as black belts as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Anna Carolina becoming one of the most dominant female jiu-jitsu players out there.
What is
in a very short amount of time now that she's been a black belt.
We do have her on our pound for pound jiu-jitsu rankings, right?
Yep, true. She shot up the rankings, definitely.
I think she's number 2.
Number 2 in the world in the FloGrappling jiu-jitsu pound for pound women's rankings. Right there, just after Tayane Porfirio, the current world weight and absolute champion. And of course, Tayane came close to doing the double Grand Slam this year as well, right? Because she did Europeans, she did Brazilian National. No, wait, she didn't do Brazilian National. She missed one out, right?
No, she did do a Brazilian Nationals.
Yeah, that's right. She missed Pans. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, but she won world double gold, European double gold.
Have they ever
national
fought?
Double gold.
Has Tayane and Anna Carolina ever fought?
Yeah, I think they have.
Brown belts or
probably as black belts as well. But if they did, I'm just escaping my.
Man, Anna
you know what? I'm gonna do a search on FloGrappling.com and see if they.
That's what we're there for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, Anna Carolina, she's. You know what I love about her is that she's so active too. She's done a bunch of fight to wins this year.
She's become a fight to win champion as well. Yep.
Gi and no gi.
Gi and no gi.
She's a champion both. Yeah, gi and no gi.
I really hope we don't lose her to MMA. Because she is exciting. And she's actually very similar to Rodolfo in her style. They both love that like grinding pressure pass. When Rodolfo was competing, it was just watching like his highlight reel. When he was against Kit Dale, he just got that over-under position, and it was just like old school Rodolfo, man. It was just a matter of time before he mounted him and then took his arm.
Gotta say though, credit to Muhammad though, because there was that moment late in the match, I believe the final round, and he totally locked in that pass, but he didn't get the points for it. You guys remember that?
Yeah, at the end that was tough.
You count it, and it was like 1, 2, 3,
time.
3.5, 3 3/4. You know what I mean? Like, how give the guy his points? God damn it! Come on, like Muhammad. I mean, it was incredible, but yeah. Good luck, like holding a guy like Rodolfo down. It's not hard. It takes somebody like Muhammad Ali to do that, right?
Yeah, Muhammad definitely looked great as well. He's been on fire.
Sure.
I just love watching that guy compete.
Yeah, it's so real. You always got to shout out Muhammad because he is so exciting, and he's been competing a lot as well. You know, a lot of these guys usually win the world championships, and maybe we don't see him for a little bit, but Muhammad's very, very active.
Yeah, still. A lot of them take time off, and they just kind of enjoy the hard work done. But I don't know. I think Muhammad's situation is interesting because he's been quite open about it. It's like I keep saying to him, he needs to release more stuff in English because his YouTube is absolute fire.
Yeah, he has an awesome YouTube channel.
He's got a great YouTube channel. He vlogs a lot. He does a lot of live Q&As. He does like hangout interviews, but it's all in Portuguese. So if you don't speak Portuguese, unfortunately, you're missing out. And I was watching it, and he talks quite openly about how the fact that he's a new father, for example. He's got a baby girl who's less than a year old, and a lot of his motivations to compete have changed. He also did a great interview with Tim Spriggs on the BJJ Goons podcast, and I really recommend that anybody go check that out. Good podcasts, like just by itself, but the episode Muhammad, definitely worth a listen because he talks a lot about how he always thought he was too selfish to be a father. A father and a professional. Sorry, to be a professional athlete, you need to be selfish, right? Yeah. And he was like, man, like, it was a shock when I found out I was going to be a father. It wasn't planned. I didn't think I would be able to manage my career, and it was tough. But then at the same time, it's a motivation. Because now he's got a family to provide for, and that's why he's going out there and he's going after those big prizes. So it's great to see.
I almost felt bad for him when he lost, because it was $30,000 on the line. But then I remember 2 weeks ago he won 20 grand at World Series of Grappling. So I was like,
second place didn't get nothing.
He's gonna be all right.
I think it might have. Yeah,
hopefully they got
CBD oil.
What's
a year's supply.
What's Rodolfo's MMA record? Do you know? Is he like 2-0 or 3-0?
Yeah, I think he's 3-0.
3-0.
One thing
Google, pull that up, young Will.
One thing I want to say about Adolfo is that I love how he wasn't afraid to play guard.
Ooh, 4-0.
Oh, he's 4-0.
Yeah.
I love how he wasn't afraid to play guard. That could have been one of the most boring matches, of them just like for
pushing
15
and
minutes,
shoving
pushing
each other.
and shoving, no one willing to pull guard. I love guys who we know Rodolfo as a top guy, right? He's a top game type of guy, but he was like, you know what? I'm gonna pull guard. I think that just demonstrates the level that he's at. He's got the takedowns, he's got the passing, he plays guard. I think that's like the...
Yeah, we do nag on guard pulling sometimes, right? And a lot of people don't like guard pulling, but like guard pulling is an offensive movement in those situations, and it does carry the action forward.
Totally. It started the match.
Can I just bring something up here?
What do you
I'm just
got?
scanning through Rodolfo's grappling record here. And, I mean, this is just incredible, you know, because, of course, he did ADCC in 2015. The last time before that he competed in the gi was Worlds in 2014. And, you know, he was super active up until that point, right?
Right.
He has, in the last, let's see, going all the way back to 2012, the only person he lost to, and he lost to him 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times in the gi, was Buchecha. That is the only person who could stop Rodolfo. Like, Rodolfo was that good, man. It's a shame.
And he beat Buchecha once.
He did, but that was the only person who could stop Rodolfo in his tracks, was Buchecha.
I think Rodolfo...
Let's run it back. Let's do it.
It's a shame they're boys, though, right, nowadays.
Yeah. I think they would still
You
fight.
hung out with the two of them, right?
Yeah.
And they're really, really boys.
Yeah. No, they are. Yeah. Him, I think Low and Buchecha are more tight than Rodolfo, but
they would have fought if Leandro hadn't gotten injured, right? So
Buchecha was telling me, you know, he's like this idea that you can't be friends with your opponent. That's like that's an old school mentality, and
I like that.
You know, he's like, you know, we're all friends, but they're still gonna go after each other if they were to, you know, meet on the mat at some point.
It's not MMA. You're not punching each other in the face, right? So I kind of like that, you know, that it is just a grappling match. Just put that friendship aside for 10 minutes. Just get on the mat, do the match, shake hands immediately after, everything's cool, right?
Although
unless you Fag the Hocha, because if somebody did that to me in a match, I probably wouldn't be friends with them anymore.
But as I say, although things are changing a little bit, and things are in jiu-jitsu moving a little bit more towards MMA.
You think so? Why did you say that?
Well, I just mentioned Wagner. You know, guys like Gordon, I guess, come to mind. Guy who's not making a lot of friends these days. On the
polarizing.
Yeah,
polarizing figures.
Gordon's not looking for friends, though, is he? That's the thing. Like Gordon has got absolutely no problem whatsoever in saying exactly what he thinks. He has strong opinions.
Dylan Dennis, of course, you know.
But how do you feel about that, though? Because, like, the whole idea, we get this opinion a lot in jiu-jitsu that, like, jiu-jitsu is the respectful martial art, this level of, you know, Bushido spirit and this, and, like, I don't know, these guys are pushing it, and I mean, I understand, because we live in a social media driven world, and it's all about self-hype now, right? You gotta promote yourself, so the easy way to do that is call out someone's mama, you know? So
yeah, I think to me it's like, if I can tell that they're being like true to themselves, right? Like Gordon, I think he's not putting on a front. He's not like trying to, you know, be someone he's not. Like I feel like really Gordon is being truly himself. So like, in that case, like I appreciate that he's not trying to, you know, put on this faux Bushido spirit thing, like like you were saying, you know, and trying to fall into that. I appreciate that he's being authentic and things like that.
He really is, because I remember. It was a couple of weeks back. It was in September, I guess. I was in New York for Nogi Pants, September, October, and yeah, it was like I can't even remember exactly what it was, because Gordon creates so much drama on Instagram, right? He'd been pot-shotting at somebody or other, and you know, like getting into it and stuff. And I spoke to Gary Tone on there, right? Of course, Gary was one of Gordon's coaches, and you know, now they're like, you know, teammates and stuff. Like, and yeah, Gary was just like, yeah, I'm not surprised. He's fucking crazy.
Yeah. But in defeat, Gordon is super humble, super respectful. I mean, we rarely see him lose, but the couple times that he does, he's always like, man, he was the better man.
Although, that said, you know, good thing I screenshot this shit, right? Because, you know, the only two people who do have wins over Gordon in the last, you know, couple of years, right, is Felipe Pena and Vinny Magalhães, right? And that was a little while ago that they got wins over Gordon. Things have changed since then, but Gordon, I think the humble moment has passed, because he's right back at it. One of his most recent comments was, "I'll crush them both now."
Yep, he's a confident guy too. So, yeah. But also, you know, guys like AJ Agazarm, of course, come to mind. He's another extremely polarizing subject, and I don't know. I'm not sure that he feels as authentic to me in the things that he does and says. So. There definitely is, you know, yin and yang, and there's the people who I think are doing it good and doing it less good.
Yeah, I mean, it's showbiz as well, right? Like, people do say that, oh, leave the trash talk and leave the theatrics out of jiu-jitsu. But hey, you know, jiu-jitsu and grappling, yeah, okay, there's an amateur side. Like, nobody should be talking shit to each other before they get on the mat at like a Dallas Open or a you know Nogi Pans or whatever it might be, right? It's like, that is not the time and the place for it.
Right.
But if it's like a big televised event, you know, when it's like there's a lot on the line, there's money on the line, you want to sell the show, you want to get people interested, I'm thinking of a big show like a Kasai, like a Polaris, like a something or other that is of a certain level.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, what's wrong with like dropping some poems on Instagram?
maybe throw a dolly through a bus window if you have to.
I mean, certainly it's like the bigger the moment, right? The bigger the moment, the more pressure that is on the individual going out there, you know. So when there's a lot of pressure, and those type of things can manifest in different ways, manifest in trash talk or manifest in anger or something like that. So
Joe Rogan talks about it a lot too. That there's like it's a psychological warfare.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you can beat somebody before you get on the mat, you know. And he's seen people just crumble under the pressure of, you know, the trash talk.
Really good point.
You know, if you have a skill for that, then maybe it's to your advantage too.
Did you see the
hang on a second though, is there anybody in jiu-jitsu doing that? Do you think getting into each other's heads, actually using the mental warfare effectively? I mean, one guy that I think of who can is Urbeth, right? But
Urbeth, for sure.
He does that almost in the match because he's really good at like taking people out of their comfort zones and messing with their heads, but he does it through his actions. He does it on the mat, you know?
I think Tim Spriggs kind of does the same thing, but that's also in the moment.
In the moment, in the match itself. They mess with people, take them out the you know, sort of disrupt the rhythm, shall we say, of the match, right, in their own favor. Right. But what about in the lead-up? Is there anybody who is known in jiu-jitsu or grappling for doing that successfully before? I'm not sure that there is, to be honest.
AJ definitely does it.
I was going to say AJ.
But it hasn't necessarily worked in his favor, right?
Yeah, true. But I mean, I think that definitely some of it spilled into the Gilbert Burns match there. You know, that match played out a little differently than I expected it to, and maybe because of you know, the way AJ was acting and talking. So yeah. I can't say for sure, but that one comes to mind.
100%.
So.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because we just saw Gilbert face DJ Jackson, and he's had, you know, they've had a few wars in the past, but he kind of handled DJ Jackson a little bit.
Not many people can say they do that either, man. Like, I don't even remember the last time I'd seen DJ getting taken down. Yeah, he's a phenomenal wrestler, right? Yeah. Remember that, like, it was again at the CBD, and freaking Durinho shot in on that double leg, got around to the back, hoisted him up, hucked him down. Damn, dude. That's huge. We should mention, actually, because that was one of the other four-man divisions on the CBD. There was Rodolfo won his heavyweight. Then, of course, Anna Carolina won hers, the four-woman bracket. And then Durinho won the four-man lightweight nogi bracket, right?
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, that's a good point. Maybe because AJ didn't get submitted, you know, it was a sub-only match, right? So there were no points or anything. But, I mean, he endured the storm of Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert definitely came out hot. You know, he came out storming against AJ. So, yeah, maybe that's a good example.
I was just going to say, did you see the Lakers Rockets brawl?
Oh, yeah,
that went down, right? Yeah. So, you know.
Spitgate.
yeah. So tensions get high.
Hey, it's everywhere,
in all sports, you know. And I don't see anybody calling that disgraceful or anything. Obviously, it was like not a great look, but I don't see people calling it disgraceful or anything like that. No. It happens.
It does. So moving on quickly, we got a really, really cool event coming up. We have a ton of events coming up, but we you know, let's just bring this one around and put it on people's radars, because November is a busy month. We've already talked about, we've got ADCC trials, we've got Kasai, we got Rio Grand Slam, but we've also got Spyder Invitational Jiu-Jitsu Championship in South Korea. Now, this is doesn't get as much attention because, you know, people aren't that aware that there is a jiu-jitsu scene in Korea. But there is. It's thriving. You've been there. What do you think, Reed?
To Korea, I've been to the event in Korea. Yeah, that's right. I went there in February, and man, those guys are doing some real special stuff over there. The lights, the production that they have. I love the kind of season that they've built now, where they have they have a qualifier event, and then they did the quarterfinals, and now this is the finals. So they've been building momentum kind of this whole time. You know, that we saw Jonathan Alves do really good. So it's doing a great job of kind of highlighting these new emerging stars in the sport. I really love the event. I love what those guys are doing over there. I think
it's quite
a lot
a unique
of fun.
Concept, right? That
yeah.
they've got this tournament that runs throughout the year. So they've got 3 events: the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year. And the opening event is like the qualifier. The middle event is the quarterfinal matches, and then this last event, which is taking place on November 3rd. Technically, for us, it'll be November 2nd because of the time difference. But they've got the semi-finals and the finals, so they've whittled it down. There's this huge bracket going on all year. So they also have some super fights mixed in there as well. But one thing I think is really interesting, they have 2 weight divisions. There's basically a lightweight and a heavyweight with 76 kilos, which is 168 pounds. That's the weight. They got above and below that, right? And they also mix up brown and black belts. So we've seen some really interesting results and some really interesting kind of matches you wouldn't necessarily otherwise see. We saw Victor Hugo, ultra heavyweight brown belt, against Tommy Langacker, middleweight black belt. You know?
Yeah.
We saw Jonathan Alves, brand new brown belt, lightweight, going up against featherweight world champion black belt Jamil Hill. We saw Jonathan Gracie. We saw lots and lots of guys going in who, you know, going up against guys like Hugo Marquez, for example, who's a black belt. That's a crazy match.
Against Jonathan.
So yeah, we had this really interesting mix of players from different teams, different weights, different belts and stuff, and they've whittled it down now. So let's just run through quickly what we've got on this card, because we've got the lightweight bracket is Korean black belt In-Sung Jang versus Paulo Miao. Now, In-Sung actually beat AJ Agazarm on the last event.
Brown belt beating a black belt.
As a brown belt, yeah. There's great opportunity, right? Show what you got.
And he was there at the qualifier that I went to in February, and although he didn't win the qualifier, he was one of the guys who impressed, I think, the most, because he had a couple great matches. He beat, I forget the other guy's name, he beat the Chinese black belt from Gracie Baja that was there, and then had a good match against Kynan, I believe it was, and then had a great match against Victor Hugo, and then gave up the Victor Hugo match kind of like right at the end, I believe. But he impressed a lot of people, I think. Not a lot of people expected him to do as well as he did. And
but he was fighting the heavyweights.
Yeah. So he was kind of like the smallest guy fighting the heavyweights.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
yeah. He kind of like got pulled in kind of like last minute there. So
wild. And then you've also got Masahiro Iwasaki, the black belt from Carpe Diem, going up against AOJ brown belt Jonathan Alves. That's a crazy match right there as well.
That is crazy.
Yeah. In heavyweight, Vinicius Trator Ferreira from Alliance up against Kainan Duarte of Atos.
Is Vinicius still a brown belt?
Oh, no, he just got his black belt.
He just got his black belt?
Very, very recently, just got his black belt.
Okay, so those guys fought the last one. In February,
both of them as brown belts,
and
now
they're
both black belts.
Yeah, now they're fighting rematch as black belts. Kind of won the first one.
And Victor Hugo, the aforementioned brown belt from Hibero Jiu-Jitsu, up against DJ Jackson.
That's a good match too.
That's a crazy match.
Yeah.
And again, huge size difference in that, because it's basically an absolute at that point, right?
Do you know the rules by any chance?
It's basically straight IBJJF style rules.
Yep.
Yeah,
advantages,
points, advantages, short matches.
I definitely think it makes for those weight classes. The fact that there's brown belts in there just make for some awesome matchups, and we're gonna see that in November.
Very exciting. But there is one big matchup that we got to talk about on the upcoming Spyder, and they've put together 2 super fights. Jamil Hill will return to go up against the Korean black belt Junyoung Cho. But man, can you believe this? Right? Can you believe this? That former UFC heavyweight champion, 2-time ADCC champion, will appear on Spyder. Fabricio Werdum. Werdum is going to go up against none other than 4-time no-gi world champion and current 2018 gi world champion, Lucas Hulk Barboza.
That's a crazy match.
You're joking.
That's insane.
This is a joke you're telling us right now.
Absolutely going to happen.
What a crazy matchup.
We went down yesterday. We sent one of our reporters down to Cabrina's gym in Los Angeles yesterday to do a little filming with Fabricio. He's training with Yuri Simoes ahead of this. Yuri and him go way back. He's doing his wrestling training with Jacob Harmon, and you know, man, that's
honestly, I think Yuri is probably the perfect guy to be training with. I mean, he's got almost a similar style to Hulk. You know, he likes the top pressure. He's a top guy. He's got really good wrestling, really strong guy. He's got good weight. So
I was thinking about this though. It's like Fabricio did a very smart thing in getting Yuri down and, you know, training with him for the camp in preparation for Lucas, right? And there's no secret that Lucas has got a ton of really good training partners at Atos HQ in San Diego. However, how do you find a training partner who kind of matches what Fabricio has to offer? Because the guy's 6'4", he's huge,
220,
yeah, and the rest. He's a huge guy, and he's got a very distinct style of jiu-jitsu, which is a very old school, very, you know, MMA style of jiu-jitsu, shall we say? It's a crazy conundrum because there's so many factors at play. There's the generational question, the age gap. There's the age in the jiu-jitsu as well, the modern versus the old school, and then there's the size differential. I mean, how do we see those factors playing out?
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. The one thing that I do know is that Hulk won 2017 Nogi Worlds Absolute versus Joao Gabriel, right? And Joao,
who's a big dude.
He's a big dude. Yep, he actually took him down. I think he beat him 2-0.
He won him by points, yeah.
Right. So, man, Hulk is. I mean, they call him the Hulk for a reason. He's freaking strong. He's a strong guy. And he's been super active lately. You know, he's been competing a lot, gi, no gi. And he's got that room down at Atos, which you're right. How do you find – they don't really have a big guy down at Atos. But, you know, you got to think that those guys are coming after him. We're going to really put it on him.
He's a freaking super athlete as well, right? The Hulk.
I think Hulk, if he wasn't a jiu-jitsu guy, could be like a wrestler. Like he just has that body style. He's got
explosiveness,
explosive, that grinding mentality. Yeah, so I mean, this is, who knows what the heck's gonna happen.
What do you think though, Reed? 15-year age gap between them.
Yeah, I think Hulk will be very well prepared. You know, if you can't get Fabricio Werdum to be your training partner, Andre Galvao is probably the next best thing. So I think that you know, he'll be very well prepared most likely. But you know, can't count out Werdum. You know, like there's a case for Werdum as the greatest MMA heavyweight of all time. You know, nobody else has submitted Cain Velasquez, Fedor Emelianenko, and Antonio Nogueira, Minotauro Nogueira. He submitted Alistair Overeem as well. So this is a guy who's like, you know, could be the Mount Rushmore of like MMA heavyweights, you know, or one of the best, if not the best MMA heavyweight ever. So you can't count Werdum out, and especially now he seems like he's really taking this match seriously. He's training with Yuri at Cobrinhas, so that's gonna be a good match, man. I'm really looking forward to it, definitely.
Yeah, me too. Spyder Invitational BJJ Championship finals, like we said, takes place on November 3rd, but you can watch it live on FloGrappling the evening of November 2nd because of the time difference. So, but of course, we'll have the full replay. We'll have the archived matches up on the site as soon as possible afterwards as well. Link through, actually, if you're watching this live or if you want to go and watch this later on our Facebook, then we'll link in the comments to a short teaser video of Fabricio training for this as well.
More to come, though, right?
What I like about that match too is actually, I think it's 10 minutes IBJJF rules, but they're allowing heel hooks.
Yeah, same goes for the Jamil match as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that a lot because, hey, you're going to have a no-gi match with a high-level MMA guy like that, then, yeah, you should be fighting for heel hooks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that's... I feel like you need to be doing heel hooks. If you're at the elite level in no-gi, like, you got to be doing heel hooks now. It's just part of the game, you know? So, I don't know how many heel hooks, how much Hulk trains with the heel hooks. I know ADCC season is coming up, and I know he probably wants to be involved with that. So,
you think we'll see him doing the Brazilian trials?
Oh, 100%. I think that's every elite grappler's dream, right? Is to get to ADCC. And I know that he wasn't thrilled about not being invited last time, and he kind of missed out. I believe he couldn't go to Brazil for the last one due to like visa issues or something like that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I definitely think we'll see him at the next one, at least trying to get in.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could share this. I really wish I could share this.
Oh, you're holding out?
You're teasing him.
We're not allowed to publish it yet, but I'm just going to drop some hints. We're not allowed to publish it yet, but we've actually been sent the list of signups, the list of registrations for the upcoming East Coast trials.
Oh, it's always a good one.
It's right here, exactly. Yeah, you can't see it. But oh my God, man, it is such a wild looking event. Of course, there are a bunch of guys on it who you think, you know, the kind of the usual faces, but some pretty deep divisions.
Wow, it
as
literally
well.
is right there.
You guys can't see it. Can you
How's
guys
the
see
glare
this?
on this TV?
Oh, yeah,
no.
no reflection going on in my glasses.
You really signed up? Wow.
Yeah, I know. Look at that. But there's some huge divisions as well, because that is one thing about the trials is that usually there's a minimum of like 5 fights to win gold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Because ADCC is limited to 16 guys per division. And that's because they want the cream of the crop, right? You know, it's like the whittling down the best from around the world and then the invited guys, the defending champion. 16 guys only make it to the Worlds. But then there's a ton of hopefuls out there who want to earn that shot. So I'm just scanning through like the 77 kilo division must have 40 guys.
Yeah, and you got, I mean, you've got
Yeah.
all the way down to purple belt. You know, purple belts are signing up. Definitely brown belts, ton of brown belts in there. So
anybody can sign up.
Yeah.
That's the thing about ADCC. Belt color doesn't matter. Anybody can sign up.
And we did see some purple belts have some success. I remember at the East Coast trials, you know, of course, Nicky Ryan did really well, but also...
was he a purple belt by then?
yeah, I don't even know what belt he
Mike
was.
Perez made it to ADCC
Perez.
2015,
2015 is a purple belt. That's correct.
belt.
Yeah.
There you go. So we have seen a lot of the young lower belts. What's his name? Josh Hayden, I believe, is the younger of the two, and he was a lower belt as well. He looked great out there. So man, I know I've been saying it for a while, but yeah, these ADCC trials are gonna be crazy, man, because there's so many guys who who could win these trials.
We'll be there. Live streaming it. Every match will be going through to FloGrappling.com.
It's coming up next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah, 10 days. Yeah, we've got the I believe we'll have Arena as well, our interactive bracketing software as well. So which is really helpful for going to see the brackets in real time. You can get alerts when guys are due to compete, and you can have the links directly through to the matches as well. So that's awesome when you can see the bracket like that and see how it all played out. Go look for the matches and stuff. It's a great function. Well, guys, super excited. Should we wrap this up with one short discussion? We've kind of gone long today, but it's been fun.
Let's do it.
A lot to talk about. Unpopular jiu-jitsu opinions. I have one. I probably have
Let's
a
hear
bunch.
it. Let's hear
No,
it.
not you.
I know, right? I probably have a bunch, but I do have one really unpopular jiu-jitsu opinion, which I put it on my Facebook like a year ago, and it got a ton of kind of comments back and forth, and then I shared it when it came up as one of my recent memories, and it just started the whole thing over again. I think flow rolling is bullshit. There you go. So I said it.
Can we clarify what that means a little bit, maybe?
Flow rolling is when you get a guy and you're like, let's just flow. Let's just flow. Like, no resistance. Let's just move. Let's just, okay, I sweep you, you sweep me, I let you pass my guard, I escape from side control, I put you in an arm
love
bar,
flow rolling.
I don't finish it, and then you get out and stuff, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, come on. How is that a valid use of your training time?
Basically, all I've done for the last year with this knee injury is flow roll.
There's a lot of guys who only flow row, right? Isn't there a contingent of jiu-jitsu guys who kind of only flow row?
Like
too?
Yeah, they're the
celebrity
guys who
guys
post
with,
shit on YouTube that doesn't work. You've seen those million submission chains where they're like using the hooks and then just rolling, take the back and give it up, go to the mount, roll again and again. It's like, fucking try that on me. Come on, let's see. Come on.
I think flow rolling is great for technique, working technique. But the problem is that if both partners are not willing to basically check their ego.
But hang on, when you say work technique, how do you mean?
Just apply your techniques. The guy's kind of letting you do the technique, right?
Just drill it then. What about situational drills with varying degrees of resistance, right? Like, if you do the technique once, maybe in a 5-minute flow roll when you're fucking flopping around and you're just like lying there and your legs are all inactive.
Because it's the
But what
uncertain.
about a concerted effort of doing a 3 to 5 minute round of drilling one technique, like I said, with varying degrees of resistance again and again and again?
But
How many reps could you get in
yeah,
that
but
time?
that's the beauty of flow rolling. You never know what is going to happen, so you have to think on the spot, what technique do I need to use right now, and then you got to hit that technique. Whereas in drilling, you know you're hitting, okay, I'm going to do the X sweep, 5 times, 10 times, whatever. Oh, in flow rolling, you're in a new situation, so you got to think, and then you got to apply that technique.
Thing is, we're all considered advanced practitioners in jiu-jitsu, right? Black, brown, and purple belt here. So, you've put in the hours, you are completely aware of what the possibilities are in jiu-jitsu at that point. Of course, there's always new stuff to learn. There are new positions coming up all the time, new techniques. I'm not saying that we know everything, but we're not in that white and blue belt stage of technique acquisition or pattern recognition. When you're just trying to figure out, my body moves this way, his body moves this way, that means I go this way to follow this path, right? And I kind of feel that flow rolling has a bit of a usage for maybe white and blue belts. All right, dude, dial down the intensity, stop trying to tear each other's head off, and actually just figure out this shit and see how the body moves, okay? But for the guy who's like a brown belt, black belt, whatever, you know, you go in there and you're like, yeah, you know, it's good for my ego. I don't want to roll. I don't want to have a hard roll and risk getting my guard passed. Let's just flow, bro. Let's just flow. You know what I mean?
You think it's like a safety net? It's like some like.
Fuck yes, it is.
I think okay. So perfect example. We just put on FloGrappling like 2 weeks ago or last week. It was Gutenberg Pereira and Adolfo Vieira, right? And they were
okay. If only they were here. If only they were here to argue.
It is true because they did 100% flow roll.
It was a flow roll.
No resistance.
Think about it. Adolfo's got a $30,000 fight coming up. He can't afford to get injured. He can't go 100%. Hey, you're getting a sweat in. You're working your technique. You know, and it was.
But did they only do it for the cameras?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Were they putting on for the cameras?
You know, like I hate to say it, but I mean, there's a very, very strong possibility that that is the case. You know, because nobody at that level, people are sensitive about what happens in the training room, right? And people don't like putting out rolling footage, and if they don't look good, right? So a flow roll is an opportunity for both parties to look good.
So it does have a use. It is useful.
Damn it, you caught me.
Backed your way into that one.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I agree that I don't like to flow roll. Like I don't really do it ever, in fact. But I think that, you know, where applicable, it is useful probably.
I'm not saying it needs to be to the death every round, you know? If I'm rolling with a 7-year-old, you know, I'm not going to.
He's got to learn sometime now. He's got to learn sometime.
A couple of gritty bruisers over here, just 100%, huh?
And I do appreciate it if somebody comes at me and they want to roll, let's say 70% as opposed to 110, you know?
Yeah.
That's fine. It has its place. But when that guy is kind of like, oh yeah, I'm not fucking.
It's just like when I go to jiu-jitsu, I like to get a sweat and like get a hard workout in. So usually I try to you know, go hard.
Well, I won't be asking either of you to flow roll anytime soon.
Jiu-jitsu is about pressure testing techniques as well, right? Ultimately, that's how we keep things truthful.
Under pressure, yeah.
Yeah, that's how we know that our shit works and it's not Taekwondo or it's not whatever it is, you know, that basically it's just made up. You know, some grappling art like Hapkido or something where you like twist the guy's wrist around. It's like, come on, let's keep it real here. So
I think it has its place, but hard rolling is the way to go.
100%. No world champions were made by 100% flow rolling.
No.
All right, guys. I think that's probably a good time to call it a day. It's been a lot of fun this week, actually. I've enjoyed it. But like we said, a lot of live events coming up. Definitely subscribe to FloGrappling if you are not already. We've got some amazing events you will not want to miss. Pro membership gets you access to all the live streams, all the archive videos, and a ton of other premium content that we've been uploading recently, including a lot of reads, retrospective videos, travel logs, showing you behind the scenes of some of the biggest tournaments in the world from the last couple of years.
Man, just real quick, that Askren stuff has been blowing up lately, huh? Askren is on the tip of everybody's tongue. He's going to the UFC potentially. But just the week before, we did an hour-long interview with him and Danaher, so check that out if you haven't seen it.
We've got technique videos, we've got training room footage, we've got so much good stuff on FloGrappling.com. Don't miss it. Guys, we'll see you again next week for another episode.